I'm sorry, but who the fuck is Damon Salvatore? Welcome to Lost All Caps.
Amazing.
You know, I've been sitting on that one for a while.
I was wondering if he'd come up. This was, what a guy, Damon Salvatore.
What a guy.
We didn't know. We've never watched Vampire Diaries.
No.
We didn't know that Ian Somerhalder is in Vampire Diaries.
It was crazy because we were just like, after we started getting into Lost, we were like, you know, Googling to see if there was a fandom out there, which there is, right? But then there was so much more content about Ian Somerhalder that we were just like, what's going on here?
It was like, I went to follow him on Instagram and I had like 15 mutual following. And I was like, I can't know this many Lost fans, surely. I don't. I remember finding out, and I remember I feel like I have a text somewhere of me in all caps messaging you being like, Ariel Boone is in Vampire Diaries.
All caps. Poignant.
It's what time? We've watched like half of an episode of Vampire Diaries.
We did.
Then I was like, I have to see it, so I've watched the scenes that have him in it in episode 1.
I forgot we did that. Skipped through like everything.
We were like, we don't care about this bit. I want to see Boone. And we watched that. And now it's forever in my continue watching on Netflix. And I don't think I will ever watch any more of it.
Well, if you're a Vampire Diaries fan out there and there's like one hilarious moment with Boone or something that we need to watch, send us a message, comment below, let us know the timestamp, and we'll go on to the continue watching and find the best. Or
if there's any one episode that, I don't know, is just really good, maybe we'll watch it.
Yeah, maybe we will. Why not?
Let us know.
So welcome to the podcast. I'm Ariel.
And I'm Velvet. And this is episode 10.
Episode 10! I think it's like our first milestone, right?
Yeah.
Which is very exciting. We've decided to dress up nice for the occasion, which was my idea because basically the story is I was in TK Maxx, my favourite place to be.
Love TK Maxx.
And I found this like gorgeous blue ball gown. Obviously I've got blue hair at the minute. And I was like, it's amazing, I need to have it. But I was with Mum and she was like, why are you buying a ball gown? When you see how like she's got a fair point. But she was like, you're never gonna wear it. And I was like, I really want it. And also it was 15 quid. Just putting that out there.
15 quid for any dress.
Fucking bargain. And so I was like, well, I'm gonna wear it to record the podcast, and then you can see this, mother. There's video evidence that I've worn the dress.
We did it.
So yeah, I wanted to wear this dress, and honestly, no regrets. I feel like I'm serving.
No,
Apart from the
great.
fact that it's like 10:30 in the morning. Yeah. I feel a bit silly being really dressed up.
I know, it's very weird. I'm currently wearing like a waistcoat that has very brightly coloured patterns of ties on it, and I have a class later. I'm not going to change. I have a glass and then I have a glob.
Yeah. I mean, I love this waistcoat.
I love this waistcoat.
Gorgeous.
I think it's so much fun. We found this in a vintage shop in Affleck's in Manchester, which if you live in Manchester, you know Affleck's. It's amazing.
Also, you know, our natural habitat, I reckon.
It's so much fun in there. It's like if the back rooms was a shopping centre, is how I would describe Affleck's.
What's the back rooms?
You don't know what the back rooms is?
No.
Oh my god, it's so funny. So it's this idea, it's like a parallel universe where there's nothing.
Sounds fantastic.
So basically it's like people online who make like creepy videos of like abandoned like office blocks and stuff.
Oh, those!
Yeah, and it's like being like there's no one here and being like I just woke up and everyone's gone and like that kind of thing. And then there's these like entities that live in the back rooms and they will like attack you and stuff. And there's all these accounts on Instagram that will make videos being like, these are the safe entities to talk to in level 5, the pool. Yeah. And it's really fun.
So I've had those videos like recommended to me. The algorithm has shot them out at me, but I just didn't know that there was a collective term for them.
Yeah, the back rooms.
I was on a train and there was nobody in the carriage and I did a video panning around being like, I think I put something like, is this when the zombie apocalypse hits? Or something like that. And and put it on my Snapchat story because I was about 13 at this point.
Yep.
So I was using Snapchat. And then like 5 minutes later, my friend comes down the carriage and comes and sits with me.
Oh my
and,
gosh.
like,
they saw the story?
Yeah, he'd seen the story and gone, oh, I think I'm on the same train as you, had messaged me that, but I hadn't seen the message. So he just appeared out of nowhere. It was really creepy.
That's so funny. Yeah, I know, I love the concept of the backrooms. I don't know a whole lot of the lore, but I think it's a really fun thing. Yeah, so we're dressing up nice for today because it's episode 10. And actually, I think this is such an amazing episode.
I love this episode.
This is so good. I would say this is one of the scariest episodes in the whole series.
Ooh.
I'd say, like, if maybe not one of the, like, you know, maybe not like top 10 best. I don't know if it would crack my top 10 best, but definitely like top 5 scariest, I would say. This one, because that last scene,
that is scary.
God, I was so terrified.
I don't know. I mean, it is. I agree that it's scary, but I don't know if it's one of the scariest.
I think so, because I think a lot of the drama of Lost is like the mystery, which isn't necessarily scary.
I think I just found some grated cheese stuck on my nail.
Ooh.
And I've not had cheese today. I'm going to really hope that wasn't what just fell off there and it was not cheese.
Well, that's delightful.
New developments in the studio.
The studio brackets kitchen.
Cheese.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this is genuinely a very scary. I think the next episode also.
See, I was gonna say
it's really very scary.
I think that scared me more.
I think this plot line.
Yeah, is scary.
Probably scariest plot line in the show. I'd venture to say.
Maybe. I mean, it's hard when we say these sweeping statements because I forget things that happen in the show.
That's true. I know we might get halfway through and I'll be like, oh wait, but I think this is. Yeah, this is when it's still, because this is when we know nothing about the island as well.
Yeah.
So it's so much scarier learning this new thing about the island.
Yeah, and I think it's quite cool that it happens in episode 10. It's like we've had sort of 10 episodes not to get our bearings, because I don't think we ever get our bearings.
Nope.
So we've had 10 episodes to be like, this is the crash, you know, these are the kind of people and our characters, and then it's like, and now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty, into the meat of the narrative, basically. And it's a big sort of twist and, like, a big bombshell.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also, like, thinking about it, like, if this is the 10th week you've been watching the show, that feels like so much like a bigger commitment, you know, than watching it back-to-back or whatever. I think, I just love this episode. I think
a great episode. And we get a Claire lore drop.
Claire, I love Claire.
I love Claire.
And we've established, you know, we love all the Australian characters we love. So obviously this is a great episode because we get more Australian characters. But also, like, interestingly...
We don't love all the Australian characters.
That's true.
Thomas can go fuck himself.
Thomas. Although his paintings were quite cool. I looked at them in the background. I don't know if you looked... in the flashback. I was looking, the one he was like working on had like these weird faces, and I was like, actually his paintings are pretty cool.
There's probably some really intense lore somewhere about the paintings, like
Probably.
he painted the island or something.
Who knows? But yeah, no, I was gonna say, interestingly about this episode as well, we're saying it's like, it's the scariest, it's a good, but like, we watched this episode with our housemates, and
We did.
neither of them have seen any episodes of Lost. And we were like, actually, this is quite a good closed narrative as just one episode to watch. Like, a lot of the episodes, I would say you can watch them, but you can't really get the most out of them if you haven't seen the rest of the show. But this one, I feel...
Yeah, it was kind of a coincidence that we were just like, oh, we're watching it in prep for our podcast, and they were like, let's just join you, why not, you know? And it turned out it worked in our favour, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the episode is actually quite a good one to watch out of context, which, you know, is interesting.
So let's start discussing the episode in a bit more detail then. We've talked about our, you know, vague opinions.
Isn't that all this show is?
Vague opinions.
Vague opinions.
Let's get deep down into the nitty-gritty of the episode. What? Why are you
I
laughing?
don't... Made me laugh. Let's get deep down into the nitty-gritty.
I want to get into the nitty-gritty. First question of the episode. Why is that the previously on?
Yeah. It was interesting.
Because the previous episode didn't have a previously on.
No.
Surely that should be on Solitary, the French transmission. Because also then the episode had no actual flashbacks to Saeed meeting Danielle.
No, and neither did the previously on. The previously on included the transmission and him, like, leaving the island or whatever. Yeah. Like, leaving the
Yeah, because like, when we
beach.
started watching it, I thought I clicked on the wrong episode. I thought we were watching Solitary.
Yeah.
And then, like, if I was to make a previously on for this episode, surely it would be, like, Claire in the plane crash when she's, like, having contractions and they have to, like, take her away. Nope.
I mean, I guess it's so that you have the context of when he goes, like, we're not alone at the end, but...
Yeah, but...
It felt very weird.
I would have put in, like, the stuff about the whispers, maybe. But the episode, aside from the previously on...
Yeah.
The episode starts in a really very cool way.
Very, very cool.
Very cool.
I feel like it's one of the best eye-opening shots we've had so far. Because, like... Because she's, like, panicked.
Yeah.
Her pupil is, like... Her eyes open really far and her pupil is, like... contracting, and I think it looks very cool.
No, it's really cool. And, like, it's something we joke about a lot, about how a lot of the characters in the show have really intense blue eyes. But Claire's eyes are very intense.
Yes. Girl, I'm shaking. Get her some
Buy
brown
her some
contacts.
brown contacts.
That was, like, one of the only comments that our housemates had as well.
Yeah.
Like, the scene between Thomas and Claire, they're, like... the first scene where they find out she's pregnant, they were like, are they having a stare off?
Yeah.
Are they having a blue eyes off?
It's really funny because it's something I actually realised in explaining that to them. I was like, I think the reason why so many characters' eyes seem really intense is that a big part of the style in the, like, cinematography is that the characters are very close up. They do a lot of, like, close-ups on faces while people are talking. Like, they like their extreme close-ups on the eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
But also just, like, in a standard conversation... they get quite close.
They do.
So I think people's eyes are just really obvious. So, like, whenever someone has, like, intense blue eyes, you can really tell. Or when someone has, you know, very intense brown eyes, like Saeed.
You just can't resist bringing up Saeed's eyes.
I can't resist, but I think I just really like brown eyes. I just think they're really beautiful. I wish my eyes were brown.
I feel like we've gotten derailed immediately. Right, so the dream sequence.
Dream sequence is so cool.
It's very cool. Did you notice? I noticed this, right? And I was quite proud of myself because I feel like you're the one who's always noticing all the tiny details.
Oh,
I was like, so John's there. Well, first of all, Claire's not pregnant, right?
That
Which is
was the
crazy.
craziest bit.
I was
Yeah.
like, when we first watched that, I was like, you immediately have to reassess everything. You're like, what's going on? Do you know what I mean?
Fuck?
So John sat at the table. When he picks up the card off the top of the playing deck, it makes the noise of, like, a knife, like, scraping.
I did notice that, yeah.
Fuck!
How cool is that?
Cool though, very cool.
It is really cool, yeah, because I was like, oh, it's like John noises. Because he has the knives.
John noises, absolutely.
I think it's so cool. The eye thing is so scary. Also, I completely forgot that happened. Like, I remember the dream sequence, and then after we finished Lost, I was like, oh, I can finally, like, get online and stuff. I was, like, watching a bunch of edits, and people were using that clip all the time, and I was like, when the fuck does that happen? What? And obviously now I know.
Yeah. And are they supposed to be, like, the stones?
I think so, yeah,
black
because
and
there's
white
that one
stones.
shot where he's holding them up, like, next to his eyes.
Yeah.
I think the idea is that now, you know, they are his eyes.
Yeah.
It's very Coraline core.
I did remember that. That's, like, the only bit of the dream sequence I did remember.
I remembered her waking up and not being pregnant. I remember that being...
I don't remember that. But then I guess you hear the baby, like, screaming, and that's kind of, like, the point of the,
And there's, like, there's like a little kid running through the jungle, and then obviously the cot. It's all just so cool.
But my favourite bit is when she wakes up, because, like, that sort of blood-curdling scream. Oh my god. I think that's so good.
Claire Emily Draven and her screaming. Mm-hmm. Her scream acting is so brilliant.
Do you know what I think happened? I think she saw Maggie Grace, who plays Shannon in the pilot, screaming. And she was went, like, hold my beer.
She's like, I've got to top that.
Yeah, and she does.
She does.
Blows her out of the water.
That screaming is crazy, because also, like, the screaming in the pilot is iconic and it's amazing. Yeah. And also because it's, like, everyone's freaking out, obviously. But what's amazing about the screaming in this episode is that no one else is freaking out. And, like, everyone's just like, wait, imagine being asleep and then you wake up to that scream. Yeah. And then that's when everyone starts freaking out, and they're all just, like, desperately trying to get her to, like, calm down.
I love how long it goes on for as well. Yeah. Like, it's weird because I think when I first watched it, I had a very mixed reaction to it, because it was like, I started, like, I laughed a little bit. It was kind of like a nervous laugh. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Because it's like, it goes on for so long, and it is, like, the way that she's, like, flailing her arms around, there's something, like, a little bit, well, it's very unusual, right? Maybe a little bit goofy. But, like, I was still also, I remember this very distinctly, like, I laughed, and then I was like, why did I laugh? But, like, I also had chills at the same time. Like, I had goosebumps, because it's really haunting. Like, the actual sort of, like, I don't know, pitch of her scream is really good.
That's really crazy, yeah. And obviously the blood being on Claire's hands.
Yeah, oh my god.
It's also like, because obviously the dream ends with her hands being all covered in blood, and then they really are. And it's like, oh my god, it's real?
Yeah, that shook me.
So cool.
So cool. And then obviously you get, like, the kind of explanation of it being that she dug her fingernails into her hands.
Yeah. See, I was so confused by that when I first watched it, because I have really short nails. I, like, cut my nails so that they're short, because otherwise they really bother me. And I was like, how? I never understood that. Because a lot of times in, like, books and stuff, people will describe, like, a character who's really, like, angry or whatever, and it's like, you know, oh, she was digging her nails into her skin and leaving, like, little marks in her palms or whatever. And I'd always be like, how hard are you squeezing your hands? And then I realised not everyone has tiny nails.
I mean, I'd say the opposite for me, if anything. So I have very long nails, and I hate it when they're short. I hate, like, the feeling of that, so I always have really long nails, always have. So I find it very easy to leave a mark into my hand, so I can just go like that, basically. And I've left marks, look.
So I have to, like, squeeze my hand really hard to get any marks.
So I'm like, whenever anyone is described as really, like, clenching their fists like Claire here, I'm like, oh my god, you know, like,
yours would go
really funny. You know, they're coming out the other side of a hand. Like, sorry, is that a bit graphic?
Oh, I mean, that's quite a nasty image.
Just imagine it being Wolverine, you know.
Yeah, no, it's just so, it's so creepy. And, like, the whole way it's framed, like, because the show already is a bit fantastical and is a bit weird and supernatural and mysterious, that, like, it takes so long before you think something's wrong here.
Yeah.
Which I think is really well, like, it's really well done. Because it's like, obviously, okay, she's not pregnant, something's gone wrong. But also it's like, up until like, she finds the cot, I think, it's like, this could be real.
Yes and no. I think I was like, why is there a table in the middle of the jungle?
But also it's John.
Yeah, John just, like, being, if it was just John sat on a tree going, you know, what does he say? You've ruined it. Everyone pays the price now. I'd be like, yeah, standard. But it's because the fact that he sat at a table with, like, a little lamp, I'm like, I think that's when I clocked it was a dream.
I guess, yeah, that's a good point. But I think, like, a great way to combat that is that John's only other appearance in this episode, he's being batshit fucking crazy. What is he doing in that scene?
When
Hurley's doing, like, his senses.
Oh, yeah!
And John, first of all, being a mysterious bitch with his, no, I didn't find what I was looking for. It found me. Shut the fuck up.
And then he goes, like, any more questions? And it's like, yes, actually.
Yes, many more questions. And I love that little line from Hurley where he goes and talks to someone else. He's like, I don't have anything to ask you. I just want to get away from it.
Yeah.
But, like, in that scene, he has boar skin. I assume it's boar skin. He's rubbing, like, aloe vera on it, and then he gets, like, a A cup full of sand?
No, it's a shoe.
Full of sand?
There's sand in a shoe, and I don't know why.
And, like, shakes it... Oh, what is he doing?
I've got literally no idea. I thought it was, like, a big leaf that he was shaking it over. But that's even weirder.
That's even worse. I think it's a ball. I feel like I remember it being... I was like, oh, maybe he's like... You know what my first thought... This is really weird. You know what my first thought was? He's drying it out for paper. Because you know what? I learnt this history class in year 7. I learnt this fact and it has stuck with me ever since. When King William I did the, like, Doomsday Book.
Yeah.
It took 1,000 sheep to make the Doomsday Book,
Wow.
using their skin to write on.
1,000?
1,000 sheep.
Oh God, how small does it shrink down?
I don't know.
Or maybe they only...
But it's everyone in the country, I mean...
True. Yeah, it's probably a very big book, you'd imagine.
Yeah. And that's really stuck with me, so now, as soon as I saw it, I was like... For the census. For the Doomsday Book.
Oh, maybe it is a reference to that, though.
It could be, actually, because Early's doing the census.
I mean, we've made a connection there.
I don't think that was intentional, given that all the writers are American, so what do they know about the Doomsday Book? But
Doomsday Book is very famous.
is it?
Yeah.
I don't know if American people are taught about the Doomsday Book. I mean, it's very famous in English history.
I reckon people... Well, if you say 1066 to people, I feel like they'll know what you're talking about.
1066 Battle of Hastings, but...
And the Doomsday Book.
I don't know, let us know.
If you know what the Doomsday Book is.
But yeah, I don't know what the hell he's doing in that scene.
I don't think he's drying it out for paper, given that they have paper.
Yeah. This is the thing, he's obviously not drying it out for paper, but that was just my first thought.
But then it's also like, why else would you... Well, he's not drying it out for clothes, because they all have clothes.
Blankets, maybe? Or like...
A waterproof, like
a roof on a tent or something?
Yeah, but they've got, like... They seem to have plenty of tarpaulins to go around.
They are pulling tarpaulins out of literally nowhere in this
It's
show.
a very
There's
good
so
point,
many.
actually. Something that I've literally never thought about until just now. Why are there loads of tarpaulins on a plane?
Have you never thought about that? I think about that all the time. Whenever they pull out a tarp out of nowhere, like, quite often a character will, like, you know, they're going from the caves back to the beach and they're like, I need to set up a tent. And then someone, like, gives them a tarp and I'm like, why do you have so many?
Yeah.
You have one each. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah. It's very...
Do planes just have 100 tarpaulins in them?
Case of emergencies. You never know.
Like, it's crazy there's so many of them.
No, it is... That is, like... That sent me in a bit of a mental spiral. I'm like, I get so annoyed about the axe.
Yeah.
Where the hell did all those tarpaulins come from?
At least one axe, that's fairly reasonable. But, like, 100 tarps, it's so weird.
I guess from, like, the... No, I was going to say from, like, the luggage bit, but surely that would be in the tail of the plane, which they don't have.
I think the luggage is in the bottom.
Is it?
Yeah, because I think the bottom of a plane is, like... I think so. I think it's, like... Because I think it's a bit curved, and so there's, like, the flat bit where the seats are, and then the suitcases go in underneath.
I assumed there was just all, like, the mechanics in there, you know?
Well, because there is a luggage bit opened up over the caves, didn't it? Because that's where the coffin fell out.
Yeah.
And all the dolls and the suitcases.
But I imagined that was debris from the tail part.
I mean, it depends where... If they were over the island when the tail broke off, or if they were still over the ocean.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know. We don't know. So.
This may be influenced by our lack of knowledge about planes.
Yeah, neither of us have ever been on a plane.
No.
So we have no idea how they work.
I don't know if we must have mentioned that on the podcast before, but we've not properly addressed it because, like, it's bad. Because now I'm slightly terrified to get on a plane.
Yeah, I think...
Because we're so obsessed with this plane crash media.
I know. I think, like, I saw like a TikTok once of someone being like, sitting on my flight deciding who the 6 main characters are going to be when we crash.
I saw that too.
And I was like, oh, that's really funny. But also, like, yeah, I think if I presumably at some point in my life I'll be on a plane, I'm gonna, like, yeah, it's
gonna be weird.
I'm gonna be, like, just thinking about crashing the whole time, and, like, anytime there's turbulence I'm gonna be like, right, that's it, we're going to the island.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm trying to, like, fucking get the handcuffs off. I'm like, I need to access the oxygen mask, you don't understand!
But here we have, essentials for a plane. Axe.
Yep.
Tarpaulin.
Yep. Sewing kit.
Asthma inhaler. Sewing kit.
Polar bear food. Gun, of course. Can't travel without my gun. 400 knives.
Peanut butter.
Golf clubs.
There you go. I'm all set for my business trip.
Amazing.
Yeah. So the dream sequence is really cool.
Yeah. Oh, and the fact that the baby has, like, a mobile of all the oceanic planes.
Oh, the plane? Yes.
Crazy.
Very
I loved
cool.
that detail.
That
I was like,
was
it's so creepy.
So much cooler than Jack's plane leaf.
Oh my god. Is there even any competition? I'd forgotten about the leaf, to be honest.
I forgot about it, and then I listened back to episode 1 recently, and I was like, oh yeah, the plane leaf. So much cooler. But I think it's immediately a little bit contrasted by the scene following. It's not.
What, when Jack is, like, patching her up?
Yeah, between Jack and Claire. I think it's a nice scene,
Yeah.
It's obviously Jack, he's pulling his weight, he's coming in very handy as a doctor, because, her hands, but also she's heavily pregnant.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting scene in revealing the hints that this is going to be her backstory, because he says, like, what did your, like, gynecologist say about going away this close to you, giving birth? And she's kind of like, yeah, it was fine. And you're like, something suspicious is going on here. But it's when he's talking about talking in his sleep. It just really makes me laugh.
I knew you were going to bring this up.
It's like, what did you say? Whatever it was, she didn't like it. Okay.
That made me giggle.
What I have written down here, I have whatever it was, she didn't like it, and then okay, sassy man apocalypse. Have you heard of the sassy man apocalypse?
No.
It's a whole thing. He's just been a bit of a bitch this episode. Jack just, like, he's not really in it. And he, like, when he, like, goes over to Kate and he's like, oh, what a surprise. Standing here, looking out to sea, not talking to anyone. And I'm like, okay, calm down.
Yeah, I mean, he is. But, like, I think it's more like, it's like a pettiness.
Yeah, it's nice, it's fun. He's just joking around, isn't he?
Yeah.
Maybe it's because of all that golf.
Yeah, he's loosened up a bit.
He's relaxed, he's making jokes. But he's just like, he's not really too relevant in the narrative this time, and it's like, it's funny, he's just being a bit petty.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we obviously get the flashbacks. Something I noticed, I don't know if you noticed this, the flashbacks in this episode, there's so many, like, bright colours and, like, lightness.
No, I didn't notice that.
I just noticed a really big contrast of, like, the costuming and the way it's lit and the, like, decor inside the houses feels really quite bright and, like, white and orange and purple, rather than being, like, obviously all, like, the green and the grey in the caves.
Right, okay.
I think it was done as, like, a contrasting thing.
I didn't notice that at all, really. I mean, yeah, her house is very kind of purpley.
Yeah.
Lilac-y,
There's also an absolute serve of an outfit from Claire in the...
Isn't she just got a hoodie on?
No, in the psychic scene, she's got, like, an orange tank top and then, like, flared jeans and, like, a shirt over the top. She looks great. It's a great outfit.
I literally did not notice in any way.
Oh, it's iconic.
It's
she looks
like,
great.
It's just like how is that a serve of an outfit? We're so starved for good outfits on this show.
We're so starved for fashion on this show.
She is serving, and it's literally a woman in jeans.
Yeah. But she is. She is. She's serving.
She's not serving.
She looks really fun. Can we talk about Claire's friend? I love Claire's friend.
Wait, we've skipped the whole first one,
I know we have,
haven't
but
we?
I want to say I love her.
She is funny. I like when she tries to interrupt during the reading.
She hasn't told her mum. She hasn't told her mum yet. I just think she's really funny.
Yeah. But I think the dialogue in that first flashback is actually really good.
Yeah.
I think it's done quite well. Like, so many sort of, like, pregnancy reveals in television are like done in such a cringe way. I don't know. And this, I think, is done in a really sort of like, it's done well. It's like, you really get the impression of like their age, or at least their sort of immaturity or unpreparedness, and like
absolutely.
They're kind of like the stress, I guess, and the kind of like, you know, when he's like, you sure you peed on it correctly, and she's like, I know how to pee on a stick, Thomas.
Yeah, and they're like, these lines aren't pink, they're like red. Yeah, you get a lot of that sort of vibe. I think it's really great. I do think it's done really well. My favourite part of the scene though is when Claire starts crying and then starts aggressively making the bed as a way to cope.
I wrote that down too. Rage making the bed.
She's like, oh, and now I have to make the bed.
Completely.
I think these flashbacks are really fun because there's a massive contrast between the flashbacks of like the scenes with Thomas are like very kind of normal and they're like done like those kinds of scenes. Like if I showed you like those scenes, you'd have no idea what the show's about.
Oh yeah,
so
like
true. It could so easily just be a scene from like a sitcom.
Yeah.
But then the scenes with the psychic, you're like, oh my god, something crazy is happening.
I love the psychic character.
I love the psychic. The psychic is so cool.
It's also, I think it's just such a really clever device from the writers.
A psychic?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because like we've already established that there's like kind of weird magic going on in this world. Like we have John's being healed and he becomes this sort of druidic character, but the idea of like an actual guy who's branding himself as a psychic,
also like not on the island as well.
I was gonna say in real life, and the assumption might be he's just making it up, but given what we know about the universe, it's perfectly reasonable that it's real.
Yeah, it's just done in such a good way because it's like, obviously you assume he's making it up at first, right?
Yeah.
But the way that he kind of goes, like, I can't do this, and he gives her money back and stuff, you suddenly go, oh, he's seen the plane crash! Yeah. He's seen the plane crash! And one thing that I think is quite nice about this is a lot of the times in the flashbacks, like, there's a big twist and the rug is kind of swept out from under you as a viewer. Yeah. And you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming at all. This one is kind of like, the viewer has a bit more foreknowledge.
Yeah.
Because we already know about the plane crash, and you kind of join the dots together before Claire does, I think, and go, he saw the crash, and then which is, I mean, literally wild, that he then makes her go in the crash.
She's in the plane crash. And I think like that initial like him giving the money back, it's like he doesn't want to have to tell her she's going to be in a plane crash, but he doesn't want to have to lie either. And then I think the more it goes on, like when he sees her again, I think that's when he realises like she has to be in this crash. Yeah. Like, she has to raise this baby.
But also he says that he saw something blurry. So I reckon that in the first reading, all he really gets is like a very negative image or aura or something. Like he gets just like a negative impression that something really horrific is going to happen, but he doesn't know what it is, and so he doesn't want to say that because it's just going to scare her.
Yeah, especially if she just found out she's pregnant. I feel like being immediately told something terrible is going to happen to you, you're going to assume it's going to be like a traumatic birth injury or something like that.
Yeah. It's really interesting when she goes back to the psychic and she's like, well, you know, my boyfriend's left me. Is this the terrible thing that you foresaw? And it's like,
oh, Claire, it's so much worse than that.
Oh, Claire, we're really in it now. Like, it's gonna get worse.
Yeah.
Also, I'd argue that she needs to get that toxic man out of her life.
I don't know about toxic.
He literally says that she got pregnant on purpose.
I think he's just scared. I don't think he's intentionally a terrible person. I think he's freaked out obviously it's a really scary thing. They're very young. They're like our age.
Yeah, but I do think
baby.
he's a total wanker.
I think it's like he freaks out, and I think in a situation like that you try and find something to blame, and obviously he freaks himself out, and then he starts thinking, I'll just have to blame her so I can get out of it. I don't think it's a good thing to do, don't get me wrong. I don't think he's a good person.
Can't believe you're defending this prick.
I don't think he's a good person, but I don't think he's like... I think he just was really scared and freaked out.
Yeah, but also, like, why does he get freaked out by the fact that she's hanging curtains up?
Because he's going to have a baby, and then suddenly they have to have this really normal
adult lives. Yeah, but
he's
the one who, like, said that they should keep the baby in the first place.
In the abstract, yeah.
Yeah, but he shouldn't have been thinking about it in the abstract.
Obviously, he shouldn't have been thinking about it in the abstract, but he's young and he's stupid.
No.
He's an artist.
His age is no excuse. You should think about your responsibilities and your life and yourself. I did enjoy the fact that, like, he's like this artist, right? And he's got this kind of ego about him, I think. And it's like, you know, oh, I can't just, like, he goes like, I have a job, I have my paintings. And I'm like...
I was like, come on, man, be realistic.
Bitch, there's no way you're making money from these. And it's like... Oh, I guess he's upset because he's had to get a normal job, as evidenced by the fact that he's wearing a t-shirt over a collared shirt.
Yeah, can we talk about that nonsense?
It's to show he's gone straight.
Like, he's wearing like a shirt and tie, sure, but why is he wearing a t-shirt over the top of it? What?
Because he's keeping his youth. What's that post that's like, I was born to be a character in a 2000s horror movie wearing a short sleeve shirt over a long sleeve shirt to signify to the audience I'm an enjoyer of music.
Yeah, that's him.
We obviously get like a big lore drop at the end of the episode and a big twist and a big sort of bombshell, but I wrote down what Psychic says about Claire's baby.
Okay, go on.
He says, danger surrounds this baby. Your goodness must be an influence on this child, and there is no happy life for the child without you.
Yes.
Those were some of the things he said. Now, to me, this says the baby is very special in some kind of way. Yeah. Which I think...
like it's giving Jesus.
Yeah. So I was gonna say it kind of reminded me on this rewatch of Good Omens. You know how, like, they have, like, the Antichrist, and then they go, well, what if we both, you know, parent it in some way, and then it's got a positive influence and a negative influence?
Yeah, but then it turns out
to
that
be the wrong kid.
The actual kid has just been raised to be, like, uniquely human. Yeah.
Yeah. So it gave that kind of vibe, like, your goodness must be an influence on its life. And I'm like... what's so special about the baby? You know what I mean? It's really interesting.
Obviously, the twist at the end is like, that's got to have something to do with the baby, you know?
Yeah.
Like, Claire's having...
No, but here's the thing. So the psychic knows that she's going to get in the plane crash, right? Mm-hmm. And go to this island. So if there was danger on the island for the baby, i.e. not just the regular danger of, like, being on a desert island, but, like, this creepy man... then surely he would see that and he wouldn't make her go on the island.
But maybe he didn't.
But how could he not?
Maybe what he saw was her in a plane crash and he thought if she's on an island, she's forced to raise the baby.
Yeah, but you'd think because he's so adamant and he can see so much around the baby and about the baby's life or whatever. Surely he's seen a bit further on because he's seen the baby being born.
Maybe he... thinks that Claire's goodness has to have an effect on the baby. Maybe it's that there is evil that will have an effect on the baby. And if Claire isn't there with the baby as well, then only the evil will affect him.
But if Claire wasn't... how would the baby have ended up on the island if Claire wasn't there?
Good question. I don't know.
Maybe. Or is it just like evil in different forms? Like if he had been adopted.
It would have found her. It would have found her another way. It would have found the baby another way.
Yeah.
if Claire wasn't there, but this way he knows that Claire will be with the baby as well.
I'm just like...
It's interesting. It's something we can't really discuss it in too much detail because we know what happens after this. But obviously, as listeners, you might not.
But I also think that it is one of the more mysterious aspects of the show that isn't really...
It is, but also, I don't know, maybe what it is that the island is kind of outside the scope of anyone's knowledge. Like so...
No, I don't agree with that at all.
No, you have to let me cook. So Danielle, right, she's been on this island for 16 years. She put out this distress call, no one's heard it.
Yeah.
So the island is, like, unreachable. So maybe the island is also unreachable in his mind. Maybe all he saw was the crash.
That wouldn't make any sense, though. Because, well, say you're a psychic and this woman comes to you and, okay, maybe the first time all he sees is something blurry, but he says, I know you're thinking about giving up the baby and you can't because your goodness has to be an influence on his life. If all he'd seen was the plane crash, I would immediately go, oh, she's going to die. She's going to die in this plane crash. If all he sees is the crash and then that's it,
yeah,
blank, nothing.
You're assuming that what he's seeing is a direct seeing. You don't know how the psychic powers work. Maybe he's getting a feeling. Maybe it's a knowledge.
You don't know how the psychic powers work either.
Yeah, but you can't assume that all he's seeing is direct visions. And also obviously it's not consistent, because otherwise he would have seen everything the first time.
Yeah.
So maybe he didn't see that Ethan would be there. But maybe he saw everything else, you know?
Well, okay, I would agree
know.
with that, but you've gone back on your own theory there. I don't think, like, he couldn't have seen the island at all.
I'm not saying that's the truth. I'm just saying it's a possibility. Maybe he couldn't see the island. Maybe he couldn't see Ethan. Maybe, you know, this sickness has, like, infected Ethan in the last day.
Where he's only turned evil in one day.
And it wasn't like that before.
But he wasn't on the plane.
Maybe he was, I don't know, maybe this is Danielle's husband. I don't know.
Who got shot in the head.
Who got shot in the head.
16 years ago.
Listen, if Jack's dad can come back, then so can Robert.
Oh my god.
I'm just saying there's a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, you got that across.
You know the scene between Charlie and Claire where they're like chatting and she's writing her diary and Charlie says like, "Dear diary, today I swallowed a bug."
Yeah.
That bug is listed on the Wikipedia page under deaths.
What?
I was on the Wikipedia page, the Lost Wikipedia Wiki, on the deaths page, just having a look, having a browse, and it's like episode 1, like 200 unnamed people, whatever.
Right, okay.
It's like episode 3, the marshal, and then it's like the woman who's swimming.
Yeah.
And it also has like boar, killed by John.
Okay.
Fish, you know, killed by Jin. And then it says bug, off screen, eaten by Charlie.
What? Oh my god. First of all,
how do we even know he ate a bug? He might just be joking
this
around.
is literally... Well, I was going to say first of all something, and then I was going to say, and on top of all that, I think he's lying.
Yeah.
But first of all, the dedication of someone to go through the show and, like, list that as a Like, I mean, I talked about how I tried to make a spreadsheet of all the
we
kills.
did not include
I have to hold my hands up and confess I didn't include the bug. I don't think that's a real bug. I think he's saying that as a joke to make her laugh.
I think he's joking around, and also surely it's Claire's diary, so surely it's
Claire swallowed
Claire
the bug.
who killed the bug.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's just an abstract joke about how they're not doing anything on the island.
Yeah.
And she's like finding something really arbitrary to write about.
That's straight up ridiculous.
I know, it's insane.
I can't believe that.
I was like, that's so fucking funny.
Yeah. I was more confused in this scene about where they got the teacups from. And tea.
It's the energy of being British.
Yeah. Just so powerful. Manifests PG tips.
Yeah. He's got it.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of tea do you think Charlie drinks?
Very good question. I think he's a Tetley drinker.
I see that for him.
I think he's a Tetley drinker, which, in my opinion, is like my estimation of you is a bit lower, but it's not on the floor. You could have said worse.
What's the worst tea? Because for context, I don't really drink tea. I don't like it very much, so I'm relying on Ariel for this one.
Yorkshire is the best.
Mm-hmm.
Then, like, Tetley PG Tips. PG Tips is better than Tetley, but like it's all around the same ballpark. But then, like, the worst ones are like Earl Grey.
I feel like an Earl Grey drinker is a very specific type of person.
Yeah.
And it's not Charlie.
Not Charlie.
Yorkshire tea is the best tea because it's the tea that Patrick Stewart drinks.
Hello.
That's my favourite fact about
Yeah.
him. His BuzzFeed autocomplete interview is something about tea, and he goes, "I'm from Yorkshire, darling. I drink Yorkshire tea."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the best tea.
It's great. Do you think Charlie would be like a herbal tea guy? I think maybe
No.
he could do a chamomile.
No, I don't think he does herbal teas. I think he's
what he does do is drugs. So
Yeah.
I think he's probably not a big, like, he's probably not big on essential oils.
No. He's not about calming himself down. He's about getting...
Maybe he's a coffee drinker, you know? I think, actually, no, he's not a coffee drinker. I think he's like an energy
Monster.
drink guy.
Yeah, Monster
drinks
cans.
Monster.
Yeah, absolutely. He'll be like, I can't... He'll start the day with a Monster. That'll be his breakfast. 2 cans of Monster for breakfast.
Maybe some toast if you're lucky.
Yeah. And then I reckon, he's in the studio, he's recording or whatever. Probably, like, just eating quavers in the middle of the recording session.
I imagine he's like a big fan of like malted milk biscuits.
Ooh.
I don't know where that came from. Deep in my soul,
Yes.
I know he's a malted milk eater.
He's kind of got the vibe of a malted milk.
He does actually.
He's got malted milk energy.
100%. I mean, this could be a whole conversation. What biscuit or the characters?
We like so don't have time today.
I know. We were like, oh, we have to rush. We're on a time limit today, and now we're like, what
biscuit? I'm writing
Charlie?
it down. Circle back.
We'll come back to it.
New feature? Question mark. But yeah, I reckon when it hits about 2 p.m, 3 p.m, that's when he's like, I need my Yorkshire tea.
I need a cup of tea.
Tetley. I need my Tetley.
I need a cup of tea.
And I reckon he would... he could also do a red bush as well.
I don't know what red bush.
So red bush is like a slightly different kind of tea. Like it tastes a little bit different.
Right.
But it's not like a brand, it's like a different type of tea. But it's spelt Roobos. But it's pronounced red bush. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've had that. It doesn't taste anything like tea.
Yeah. Well, it is tea though, and you can have it with milk or without milk. But yeah, I think you can pronounce it like Robos or something. Possibly.
That's how I pronounce it.
But it is pronounced red bush. But I'll tell you this as a fun fact.
Go on.
My friend's sister's boyfriend is like really, really posh.
Mm-hmm.
He pronounces it red bois.
Red bois.
Or is it Roubois, I think it was.
That's iconic.
It's awful.
Yeah,
isn't
I
it?
had that tea once. Mum had read online that it like helps with like sleeping.
Yeah.
And I have like insomnia, and she was like, drink this tea. It was like 4 a.m, and I was sitting up feeling ill, and she was like, come downstairs. Let's have... I was talking about this like 4 episodes ago. Why was I... That film with Andy Samberg in where he falls down the hill for it. Just the same evening. It's the same morning.
We're painting such a picture of this evening.
We went downstairs, it's about 4 or 5 in the morning, and we watched the first 20 minutes of this Andy Samberg film while drinking Red Bush tea, and then went back to sleep again.
I just had the dumbest thought.
Go on.
If you were on the island, this would be your flashback. It would just keep going back to this one night.
Just layers. The layers of the episode would be... The layers of the scene would be built up, episode upon episode. That's so funny.
Oh my god.
Anyway,
But
I
yeah.
think another great thing about that scene with Claire and Charlie where they're drinking the tea is that Claire kind of rejects Charlie a little bit. And then I think the implication is like, oh, because of the dad, because of Thomas. And then the flashback immediately following it is like, was she rejecting Charlie because she has a boyfriend? No, he broke up with her.
I don't think it's... I didn't read it as like... Sorry, I keep saying read. I didn't read it as like her not wanting to, like, rejecting Charlie because she already has a boyfriend back home, I kind of was like, I assumed that she didn't have, like, I knew he wasn't going to be in the picture from the start.
I mean, I kind of had a feeling, but I think with the first flashback, it feels like they're still together.
Yeah,
you know?
but I think she's kind of been, like, hurt in the past. That's kind of the point of it.
Yeah.
To be like, I know what men are like and I don't want to be around them.
Yeah, and I know she thinks that the only reason he's, like, talking to her is because she's pregnant and he's, like, feels bad for her.
I mean, let's talk about Charlie and Claire in this episode, because I think, like, I'm trying to decide how I feel about his technique, shall we say. Like, I'm trying to figure out, is he just trying to be friendly? Is he trying to flirt with her? Is he laying it on too thick? Or is it an extreme situation? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think he's, like, trying to flirt in the sense of, like, in the way you would, I don't know, like, hitting on someone in a bar. I don't think he's trying to do that. I think he's talking to her because he likes her, because he has a crush on her or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's like that he's like, you know, nudge, nudge, whatever. I think he's just like, I don't have like...
You're so smooth.
I'm like Jack.
You are.
He's not, you know, he's not telling her that this violates critical regulations.
FDA regulations. He's not.
I think it's
if you know
just
what
like,
I mean.
He likes her and so he wants to talk to her.
Yeah.
And also, you know, they have conversations earlier in the episodes where she talks about how no one, you know, everyone is just talking to her because she's pregnant. And I think then he's making a bit more of an effort.
To be like, I can be your friend.
To be like,
and stuff.
we can be friends, you know. I wanna be friends with you. It's not about you being pregnant.
Yeah.
About trying to like babysit you and whatever.
But then she obviously still feels like it is about that, you know.
Yeah.
And he does kind of go back on it a bit because he's like, this is the thing. I'm like, he's like, you know, don't worry, I'm not gonna let anything happen to you. And I'm like, all right, back off a bit, mate. But she has just been attacked.
But also she needs that. Like, yeah.
So it's like, if I was in that situation and like, you know, someone else who had been attacked, even if I didn't have a crush on them or whatever, I would be like, you're going to be all right, okay, we're all here for you. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's an extreme situation.
Absolutely, and especially with Charlie because the others don't, like when Jack's like, I think she's hallucinating. Obviously, he doubles down on that and he's like, no, we need to treat it like it's real and we need to take care of her. I think it's like just, you're right, it's a very extreme situation. And I think that's just like...
That scene with Claire and Jack is really good as well. I think, like, Emily DeRaven acts that bit really well. I think she's doing some really good kind of, like, scared and vulnerable acting, but then kind of, like, goes... You know, like, it was safe at the beach, it's not safe here, don't touch me. I'm like, hell yeah, girl, get off me.
It's something I really like about Claire as a whole, is that a lot of her character kind of seems very vulnerable and seems very like she needs, you know, taking care of. But actually she's so strong-willed. Yeah. And she's so, like... She can look after herself. Like,
Absolutely.
She's so... And I think, like, that scene is a really good way of just kind of... like a really great just example of that. It just kind of demonstrates it really, really well. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the kind of the transition where she's like sort of stomping through the forest and then it transitions back into the flashback.
Yeah, I noticed one of the transitions, I think it's that one, was the we talked about how in the beginning they don't use the like transition noise. In this one, they use the transition noise and also the sound of her knocking on the psychic's door together. And I thought it was a fun, like, you can tell they're kind of moving away from using other sounds.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, they kind of, sometimes it will be like a flashback for the benefit of the viewer. Sometimes in this episode, it's like when she's explaining the whole psychic thing to Charlie, we see a bit of it. And then he goes, a psychic. And I'm like, oh, that's nice and clever, isn't it, right?
I think that's a really great scene of also just, like, piecing it together. We get the flashes of what actually happened, and then we know that she's explaining it, and then Charlie being like, well, it sounds like he was right.
Yeah.
I think it's a really great way to, like, round it all up.
Completely. I love that, like, little monologue from... Well, I guess it's a little monologue from Charlie and then a little monologue from Claire right at the end, where it's like, you know... he really did have this, I really did know about the plane crash. It's like, oh, I love the psychic. It's just so good.
No, the psychic is great. Also, that scene contains one of my favourite lines from Charlie. One of my favourite Charlie moments in general is just, if I can kick drugs, I can do this. What?
Oh my god, that bit.
What? Okay, I was a drug addict. I'm a drug addict. I was a drug addict. I'm not doing
now, yeah. I love that scene. Oh my god. When he's like, we need to time the contractions, that's what you do. 1 sugar plum fairy, 2 sugar plum fairy.
And then I think he also says, I bet this happens all the time.
Yeah. This is happening all the time.
So funny. It's just so sweet. And like he's clearly just freaking out.
It's great. I do love that scene.
And it's like so counterproductive because he's not helping, but also it's like so...
Yeah.
It's just so
if I can kick drugs, I can deliver a baby. Sorry, I am a drug addict. I was a drug addict. It's great as well because we talk about Charlie being the comic relief character but also having this really serious backstory, and it's like they kind of come colliding into each other at this point, you know?
It melds together so well. It's so funny. And then immediately goes into one of the scariest moments in the whole show. That's... So, let's circle back actually to the census.
Oh yeah, let's talk about this.
Because then we can segue into Ethan.
I mean, what a perfect segue, talking about... I also think there's a really good moment of like emerging of Hurley as the comic relief character, but also being like really smart in this situation.
His like shockingly genre-aware speech.
Yeah.
God, I love that scene.
But he's like, you know, it's like there's jokes in his thing where he's like, I was with Scott and Steve and then I was like, who the hell is Scott and Steve? And it's like, if we were doing a police investigation, we'd go knock on our doors. We didn't even have doors.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's funny, but also he's making such a valid point. It's like, if we do the census, then maybe people would stop attacking each other.
Yeah, he like articulates it so brilliantly, and it's so interesting because it's like it never even occurs to anyone.
Yeah.
That like they don't know the people they're with, and it's something like we... as viewers, have kind of established that a little bit because we keep getting these backstories where we learn things about the characters that we knew nothing about before, especially with, like, Kate, for example.
Yeah.
But, even to Jack, it's such a weird foreign suggestion to him. Even though he's had this whole crisis of Kate's a criminal, what did she do?
Yeah.
He still is like, what are you talking about? It's so interesting. It's a great speech.
Absolutely.
It's really shockingly genre-aware. It's really quite like, it's a bit of like a hero speech.
Yeah.
Also, which is really nice. And also, his name isn't Hurley.
Oh my god, yeah, that lore drop. That bombshell.
My name isn't Hurley, it's Hugo Reyes. Hurley's a nickname. Why? You don't get to know.
And... spoiler alert to the viewers, I don't think we ever find out.
We never know. I have some theories over where it came from, but we never get explicitly told.
No. And that pisses me off, actually. That's one of the... People go, like... I don't know. I'm in some Facebook groups. People say, like, oh, there were no unanswered questions at the end of Lost. All right? Everyone thinks that there were. There weren't. I can provide an answer for everything. You can't provide an answer as to why he's called Hurley.
That's very
never
true.
gets explained.
I'm a believer that a lot of the so-called unanswered questions were actually answered.
Yeah.
But something like, why is he called Hurley, isn't ever answered, but that's never brought up in spaces of this thing was never explained.
No!
It's always really obvious.
It's always like... You know, how did they get on the island?
And you're like,
we know that. It's the whole thing. Imagine if someone said that. I often wondered, thinking emoji.
But yeah, I love that speech, and I love that we then get to see him, like, making it.
Yeah.
And, like, getting... Obviously, we get John and his ball stuff, which we've already discussed, but, like, Ethan... Because we saw Ethan last episode.
Yeah, so
going
we didn't...
hunting with John.
This is how sneaky we are, listeners. We didn't properly bring him up because we were like, if we draw too much attention to him, then you'll know that he's important.
We did say it was another big episode for extras because you see Pointing Lady and then you also
But
meet
guess what, bitch? He's not an extra.
And I think that's really interesting. In also something I noticed, right?
Yeah.
Right after Claire wakes up from her second nightmare, Charlie's there and Jack's there.
Ethan's
and
there.
Ethan is right there and he's like, is she okay? And Jack's like, get me some water. And he's like, got it. And I'm like, oh my god.
Ethan was right there.
It was him.
Yeah.
And Hurley's so right. Who the hell are Scott and Steve? Who the hell is Ethan?
Who is Ethan? I mean, that's so sinister when it's like, there are other people on the island. Where did he come from? Because, like, obviously we had the hint of Danielle, and Danielle, like, says that she crashed on the island 16 years ago, she was part of this research team, but everyone else is dead. Admittedly, he could be a part of the research team, you know, that's a possibility, but other than that, how the hell did he get on the island?
And also, you know, we have the whispers as a concept, and I think Saeed coming back, and his very funny fall over, his really dramatic fall really takes away from how serious that scene is, but that, like, when he says we're not alone, I don't think he's really talking about Danielle, I think he's talking about hearing the whispers.
I think so too.
And that in conjunction with finding out that Ethan wasn't on the plane.
Yeah. And why did he pretend to be part of a plane crash as well?
Yeah.
That's the really sinister thing. He's been lying.
If he's lived on the island, he could have come to the camp and been like, I was also in a boat accident or something.
Yeah.
You know,
I can show you
I can help you
where I've been living.
But he has hunting experience, so clearly he knows how to survive on the island. Is it just him?
Yeah.
Is there a group of people? Yeah. Where did he get that needle from?
Danielle talks about, like, the others, doesn't she? Like, you know,
the whispers,
something that happened to her child and all of this. Oh my god, it's just so good.
What if Ethan is her baby? I think he's too old. He's a bit too old for that. But this was a theory I think I floated really early on. I was like, what if that's Alex?
Yeah, could be. Hey,
I think he's older than 16.
Could be. I mean,
probably.
Just weathered and haggard by the stress of the island.
I mean,
possibly.
Maybe.
But yeah, true. Saeed is in this episode for about 1 minute 30 seconds, I would say, and he fucking steals the show. Absolutely. Oh my god. He enters, he fucks shit up, he leaves.
Yeah, he shows up in, like, the last minute of the show, collapses. Also,
I love the bit where it starts with the zoom in on the bandage on his leg, and then he's, like, powering through the jungle. I'm like, yes, girl, absolute girl boss on a mission, literally.
It's so funny, and then he, like, absolutely goes for it. And the way he falls, Jack.
The fall makes us laugh so much.
In, like, a sort of, like, fainting maiden way. And then it just being like, we're not alone.
We're not alone. The grabs. He also drinks the water with such, like, vigour. He's like... I mean, you know, he's been trekking through the thing. Also, earlier on in the episode, Kate says Saeed's been gone for a week.
Yeah.
We've had a time jump.
So how long? I think he'd been gone for, like, 3...
Before he found Danielle, 3 days.
3-4 days?
Because I don't think he was with Danielle for more than a day.
I think he was there for a day. We don't know how long he was knocked out for, to be fair. I think it was nighttime when she hit him over the head. I think when he woke up it was, like, morning, and then he spends that day with her.
Yeah.
So what's that? 5 days at highest estimation. So
and then 2 days walking back,
I guess. But running back, because he was... Maybe if he was walking around the beach before, maybe it was quicker to, like, cut through the jungle or something.
Yeah.
But, like,
I mean,
crazy.
Who knows how he fucking found his way back to the camp.
That leg injury.
Yeah. No, it's so good. And then, unfortunately, like, obviously it's so dramatic at the end when Hurley then runs in and is like, the manifest, and he's trying to explain everything. And look, I think that Jorge Garcia is a great actor. I want to preface this.
Yes.
And I think that he usually has fantastic diction. However, I think, unfortunately, in this moment, when he says he wasn't on the plane, it kind of like...
He wasn't on
the plane. He kind of says it a bit like that, like it kind of emerges a bit. And then it's unfortunate because obviously that's so dramatic, and that clip is used in about 7 million previously ons in the next few episodes. So you hear it again all the time, and it's just... He wasn't on the plane.
Yeah.
I've written down, listen to me, fall! 3 exclamation marks, drinking so rapidly.
Maybe you can help me out here.
So
I have here, I just remembered what it was.
Oh yeah.
I've been staring at this note in my book for, like, the whole time we've been recording, saying the moment with the pen is so brilliant, and having absolutely no idea what that means. And I've just remembered as soon as I said it out loud. When
she signs the contract. Oh yes, that's good.
I love that moment, and I thought that was so cool when I first watched it, because it's like she's gonna go through with it, and then it's like the universe won't let her.
Yeah. she suddenly starts to believe the psychic and thing. Because
Yeah.
obviously, like, when he's been, like, ringing her up, I also love that
It's
bit.
so funny. She's like, stop calling me.
When she says something like, great danger's gonna befall you if you don't stop ringing me in the middle of the night. I'm like, I love Claire. But yeah, she suddenly is like, starts to believe him, and it's like, there's a reason, something's stopping me, fate.
Yeah, because
is
it's like,
stopping
there's a
me.
little bit of doubt in that scene in the way she's like, she wants to know that they're going to look after him, and she asks them to sing that lullaby and stuff.
Can I just say, that couple do not look like a couple at all. Did you just not believe them?
They're so awkwardly...
They don't look in love in any way. He's like got his hand on her hand or something, and it's just like the most awkward placement.
They're like incredibly awkwardly framed together. Yeah. It's really funny.
And clearly as well, did you notice that only the wife speaks?
I didn't know.
So that they only have to pay one of them as an actor and the other one could be paid as an extra because it's a non-speaking role.
I like to think he just doesn't talk. She's like, I'll handle it. Yeah, but the pen, it's so cool because it's like the universe won't let her, and then it's like suddenly she's like, oh my god, he was right. So good.
It's really good. Yeah.
So brilliant. Another little moment we get with the census. First of all, Boone kind of saves the day.
Oh, here we go.
Can I just say, because he's the one who suggests they use the manifest.
Yeah, I mean, he does. He does inadvertently save the day. But also, like, I don't know, why did they cross off all the names of the people who died? I was a bit, like, confused by that. He said, oh, we've got the plain manifest and we crossed off all the names of the people.
Oh, I thought he was saying, like, cross off, like, as a more of a command, being like, if you cross off the names of the dead people and keep the names of the people that you've spoken to.
No, I thought he said we've already done that, so it should be a complete list already.
Well, I guess when Claire did her little, like, funeral thing, maybe they crossed out all the names.
As a ceremonial, maybe.
As, like, to keep track of how many people.
Yeah, possibly. But yeah.
The other thing we get in that scene, though, is Shannon Tory confirmed, is what I've got written down here. She's a Republican.
Yeah, completely.
That, like, yeah.
Yeah, well, she's
he's a
liberal. And we also get her age confirmed
she's
as well.
20.
20.
Address Crap Hole Island.
That does make me
Shannon has one of my favourite lines in this episode, to be fair. I don't like Shannon, but I do... She's quite funny in that scene.
Yeah, she has one scene in and she's like... She just has a kind of comedy moment in this episode.
Yeah. But immediately after that, we have Sawyer wearing smiley face sunglasses.
They're smiley faces?
They're like sunglasses. First of all, that scene is so ridiculous. He's sitting there. It feels like he was contractually obligated to be in every episode, because why is he there?
Yeah.
He's like laying back. He's got his shirt off again.
Yeah.
Put your clothes back on.
I know. I feel like it's the opposite of what we got in like the first two episodes, where it's like the women would be in bikinis for no reason. It's like Sawyer's just shirtless for no reason.
We've reached the point in the series where Sawyer's just constantly naked.
Yeah.
And that will continue. And he's got sunglasses on. I think they have like tiny smiley faces on them, I think.
I didn't notice that. I was just like, where the hell did he get those
I was like,
from?
why is he wearing them?
Yeah.
But also he just gives Hurley the manifest.
Yeah, I was gonna
it's
say.
quite a nice moment from Sawyer, actually.
It is quite sweet. It seems like Hurley's kind of the only person who can get through to him, really.
Yeah, I know. There's all this talk about, like, Kate is like, I can talk to him.
Yeah.
And it's like, she doesn't get the inhalers off of him.
No.
If they'd sent Hurley in, he would have just been like, I'm gonna have them. Could have saved the whole palaver.
Yeah, no, literally.
If we're talking census, we've got to talk about the Ethan scene. Because the line, and we looked at each other when they said this line, is Ethan's like saying, you know, my name's Ethan Romo from Canada, whatever. And then Hurley says, like, oh, and he's like, why are you doing this? He's like, oh, I'm just keeping a record, you know, we've never met. He calls him Lance, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, you know, after all this time, you'd think we'd all know each other. And Ethan goes, yeah, you'd think.
Yeah, he goes like, you'd think we would.
And I was sitting on the floor and I turned around and looked at Ariel.
You're sitting on a beanbag, okay? I don't just make Velvet sit on the floor in the house.
I was on a
beanbag. Boy, get on the floor!
And I turned around and we, like, looked at each other. Because obviously we were watching with our housemates and they didn't know. And so we couldn't be like, oh, that guy, I forget his name. He's so scary.
He is. He's so sinister. That end bit, oh my god.
He's genuinely so creepy. He's so well cast.
Yeah.
That's, like, it's crazy. Also, fun fact, that guy is Tom Cruise's cousin.
Right? Once you hear it, you can't unsee it. They actually do look kind of similar.
Once you find out, you're like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does look like Tom Cruise a bit. But also, here's my proposal. Broke, hello there, General Kenobi. Woke, hello there, from Ethan Rom. It's way more impactful in my opinion.
It is.
His hello there.
It's the way it's framed of like someone wasn't on the plane. We don't know who it was, and then it's the hi, where's Jack? Hello.
Hello there.
And you're like, shit.
Holy fuck. Yeah.
It all like just like that line, and it just all falls into place. You're like, you know who was injecting Claire in the middle of the night. You know what's like.
But you don't know why. This is the thing.
Why?
We have no idea about his motivations.
We don't know what he's gonna do to them. Because then the episode just ends.
Yeah. Oh god, it's such a cliffhanger ending. This one is crazy.
I cannot imagine having to wait a week to find out what happens next.
I don't know if you noticed this little detail, but I did. That so you get quite a good shot of Claire's hands when she puts them into the psychic's hands, and she has like a plaster or something like around her thumb, and I was like, oh, is that a little nod to Charlie and his like knuckles with the white?
I was thinking that would be a reference to her digging her nails into her hands.
No, it looks more like, because it's quite white, it doesn't look like a. It looks more like a bandage, I guess, than a plaster. But yeah, I was like, oh, that's a cute little detail. It feels like the kind of thing that they'd do.
Yeah, I like that. I like the idea that that's where it comes from.
I also wrote down Jack V-neck for some reason. Guess he's in a V-neck, and I thought that was
I think
noteworthy.
He has a V-neck t-shirt on, maybe. It's the same t-shirt he had in last episode, I think.
And he has an empathetic squat. I wrote down.
Yes, he does actually. I know what that means. That's when he's talking to Claire.
He's trying to give her the sleeping pills.
Yeah,
Squats
and
down.
also when he's like bandaging up her hands, he's like squatted down, and I think he does it again.
It's kind of funny when because they always talk about like his bad bedside manner. I think we actually get that in this episode.
I mean, yeah, I think in the first scene.
Not in the first scene.
First scene, it's great when he's just talking to her
yeah,
about
because they're just joking
and like
around.
he tells like the story about his like ex-girlfriend. Clearly, he's just trying to like make her feel better.
Yeah.
But yeah, the sedative scene, he clearly doesn't know how to handle it correctly.
Yeah.
I think he's just bad at talking to people. Especially women. He's clearly bad at talking to women, just in general.
Oh dear, he's so pathetic.
He's just so awkward about everything. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I have any closing statements on this episode, really. I just think it's brilliant.
It's just really
It's
cool.
so good. It's just...
Yeah.
It's so scary.
Obviously, like, you get the really, like, the big reveal about the kind of other people or something very sinister happening on the island, and it has lots of really kind of horror, creepy elements, like all the dream sequences and Claire when she's attacked, like the musical score is like so wild, and it's like, oh god, it's really scary. But I think what I like the most about this episode is the psychic and the implication of, first of all, you know, him being able to see her future, and second of all, like her baby.
Yeah, I think here's an interesting thing about the psychic. I still do kind of believe this on a level, is that, like, is it that actually it was fate that she had to raise her baby, and so she is the reason the plane crashed? That this was the universe, because we see, like, with the pens running out, that feels like a sort of fate, a sign from the universe to make her doubt herself.
Yeah.
Is it that actually it was inevitable that she had to raise her baby, and so the plane crashed to force her?
Yeah, although it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation, isn't it? Because it's like, did the psychic I'm gonna assume is connected to fate somehow, or he can see, he has some sort of foresight. So did he make her get on the plane because he knew it was gonna crash, or did her getting on the plane cause the plane to crash?
Or is it a bit of both?
Yeah.
Obviously he knew she had to get on that flight. Did he know why? Question mark. I mean, we know we assume there was no couple in LA.
I mean, that's kind of dark then, isn't it? Because it's like Claire's responsible for all those deaths.
Yeah.
But then I guess she does run the memorial service, doesn't she? So
Yeah.
that's like, I guess that's her goodness and like some kind of...
It's helping the baby, yeah.
Yeah, coming out and like trying to... I don't know what the word is. If there is some kind of link between her presence on the plane and their deaths, then she's kind of giving them a send-off, isn't it? And it's like maybe trying to not make amends, but like ease their passing or something like that.
Yeah. That's a really nice idea, yeah. It's a possibility. I don't know if it's the truth, but it's definitely an idea that it kind of lines up with what we know now, you know? I know this is what I thought for a while when we first watched it.
Was it?
Yeah. I was like, she's the reason the plane crashed, and everyone else is just like collateral.
Wow. That's interesting. It definitely fits in with the kind of like significance of the baby.
Yeah.
Right? Because if
I would say, if I'm saying she's the reason the plane crashed, obviously what I mean is the baby is the reason the plane crashed.
Yeah. And that means the whole show revolves around the baby.
And we haven't even met the baby yet.
No. I mean, we don't even know what's going to happen to it.
We don't know what's going to happen to the baby. We don't know what's going to happen to Charlie and Claire and Ethan now.
And I also love like all the hints that sort of Jack is dropping in this episode of it being like, she's going to go into labour very soon.
Yeah.
And it's like, it really builds up the tension for the viewer, you know?
Yeah,
like
then when
shit's
she
about to hit
starts
the
like
fan.
having contractions, it's like, oh god. Like, can you imagine having to give birth on an island?
Obviously awful in any situation, but then she's got like this creepy man that she's battling against.
It's horrible.
Very exciting.
Very exciting, very
episode.
tense, very scary. And yeah, we're gonna keep these scary vibes going next week, because it's a very, very scary, intense episode again.
Yeah.
With episode 11, which is all the best cowboys have daddy issues.
Do you know what? I'm not even going to comment on it right now, because I reckon I can probably do 20 minutes at the top of next week about the title alone.
I couldn't say it because I realised immediately when I opened my mouth, I was like, I'm just being like, this episode's so scary and so intense. And I was like, and it's called
All the Best Cowboys Have Daddy Issues.
So, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much.
We have had a great time.
We certainly have.
We have had to rush it a little bit because my laptop's about to die, but that's okay.
We'll get back to the biscuit thing, don't you worry.
We will come back.
Yeah, let's go away, let's ruminate on it, and then we can share our findings.
Absolutely.
Our biscuit findings.
And yeah.
If you enjoy biscuit content, then you can follow lostallcaps-podcast on Instagram, Tumblr, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify. There'll be, you know...
Yeah, please follow us if you like the content.
Biscuit things.
We'll be doing more biscuit content soon, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, we will see you next week.
Yeah. You can follow me as well, Ariel Hebditch.
Yes,
I do
and
gigs
Velvet
and stuff.
Hebditch. And yeah.
See you next week, guys. Thanks very much for listening.
Thank
Love you all.